professional support, but from the neighbors helping neighbors, from strangers helping strangers, and a moment where true character shows. The grit, the determination, the hope that is represented by every story of tragedy that is mirrored with stories of hope. And that is what I encourage everyone to take away from what's happened over the last week. Let me just summarize our efforts in 3 baskets. The first one, the damage recovery that we are trying to address quickly. I'll call that the emergency response. The second is the support infrastructure that's going into place. And then the third, I just want to comment a little bit on what we're doing to help other states at this point. So let me just begin with the emergency response. As you know, this was a comprehensively damaging storm. And it just took out everything that we hold dear, not just life lost, but houses destroyed and infrastructure wrangled. At peak, we had 310,000 customers without electricity. As of this morning, we have 13,700 that are still without service. That's almost 96%, little 95.5% of the outages have been restored. To give you a little context, AEP, which is the primary utility in the area, has 7,000 people working the area. I will add that we're at the stage now where there are some really difficult sections to restore. The damage to the infrastructure in some of these areas was not only far more extensive than might have been thought last Friday, because of the tornado-like damage to poles, but they are now in places that are hard to get to. And so they are working around the clock to get to everyone. I expect that there's 2,000 customers that are going to unfortunately have longer-term time frames before their power is restored because of where they are located and the need to, in fact, helicopter in new telephone poles and literally hand dig the foundations in order to plant them and reconnect. We have a energy task force that is working to address these customers, and we're working with utilities and the cooperatives in order to address the longer term needs before their power is restored, and that's everything, of course, from generators to finding them alternative places to stay while this is happening. The power situation is at least far more manageable today because that unlocks so much of the other infrastructure. Water is still a very concerning area for us. We've been able to get water systems back up and running, but there are still 28 water systems that are under a boil water advisory. And we are advising the entire region, particularly those customers that are on wells. To put it in context, there are lots of people in Southwest Virginia who are on wells, to be very, very careful. They've got to flush their systems. Many of them, the pumps have burned out, and so they can go get replacement pumps from their localities who are working hard in order to stockpile pumps. But we still have to boil the water because, folks, it's just not safe yet. It's great that it's running, but we're asking everybody to be very careful. Thirdly is cell phone coverage. There were at the peak of this 287 cell towers that were out. We're down to 14 that are still out, and we are working rapidly to restore those. The communications infrastructure being back online has really enabled full and understanding of what else needs to be done. Roads are still a real challenge. In the Bristol and Salem districts for VDOT, which covers Southwest Virginia, there are 2 primary roads that are impassable and closed. There's 52 secondary roads, and I just want to again thank our VDOT and all of the folks from our Department of Corrections and all of our Virginia National Guard folks for getting roads open and getting debris out of the way. But we still have 2 primary roads and 52 secondary roads that are closed. I also want to put into context, Highway 58, which is one of the main thoroughfares, has a 1.5 mile stretch that is absolutely impassable, and it is a long-term rebuild effort. And so we're working with VDOT and of course with federal authorities to assess it, to find a way to work around, but to repair as quickly as we can. But this is not going to be a short-term repair, and that's going to continue to be a major disruption to the area. Debris removal continues at an emergency pace. We want to make sure that people can get to where they need to be. That's not just from emergency personnel, but that's so people can begin to reestablish things like school community. And so let me just touch on getting our schools back open. We know this is an important element of servicing our communities. And so we have a mixed bag on schools being open. Many counties are still closed. Many of them have gotten open and some are having delays. One of the big steps earlier in the week was the counties put in waivers to waiver requests to the federal government so that our meal service to disadvantaged folks could be extended to all school children. So many communities have been able to do that, and we're continuing to work to extend that across the region. Healthcare support is, of course, a primary concern. I just want to thank our team from the Virginia Health Department. I also want to thank the Medical Reserve Corps. These are volunteer doctors and nurses and EMS professionals from around the state that move in and provide just overwhelming capacity to support folks. The top requests have been, and we're meeting those, which is emergency prescriptions. People's prescriptions were washed away, and so getting those prescriptions filled. Tetanus shots have been in high demand, and on top of that, a lot of the equipment, oxygen tanks, mobility devices, like wheelchairs, have been just washed away. And so we're working at an incredibly aggressive pace in order to get people what they need. Finally, the number is almost overwhelming. Between the state and the Department of Corrections, there's been roughly 40,000 meals that have been served. That excludes what's been done by literally the brigades of churches and nonprofits that have been feeding communities. And that is a testament, again, to Virginia and people coming together in order to serve one another. Let me move to the support that has moved in an incredibly comprehensive way across the region. And it first literally begins with helping people understand where they get help. So the combination of Virginia Emergency Management, VDEM, and FEMA plus local resources is now deployed, and it has been this way for a few days across the region. With our major emergency declaration, we now are able to open up the flow of resources to lots of people in Southwest Virginia. I want to highlight the fact that this first filing that we were approved on Tuesday night included key counties, and now we're working to add more and more and more. And so I know people are worried, well, is my county left out? We are working to add everyone. We just needed to get process started. And I just again want to thank our leadership across the whole region and our partners at FEMA for managing that process. What that means is that now we are able to both collect and begin to process support for folks immediately. And that's happening on the ground. There are 150 FEMA personnel on the ground. That will move to 50 today, 200 today with an incremental 50, and there will be a lot more over the course of the next week. They have multiple access points, and I want all of you to please write this. You can go to 1-800-621-3362. And again, 1-800-621-3362 is the direct FEMA line to call. You can also go to FEMA.gov, and there is also a FEMA app you can download. And through that, you can start your process of documenting your personal assistance. Also, there are regional centers that are being established by FEMA in partnership with the Virginia Department of Emergency Management in the area. And on top of that, there are individuals who are going door to door through the region, helping people fill out these forms. This is a really important process, so many people don't know how to fill out these forms. And so getting them the help that they need is critically important. Let me stop there. Let me summarize with, on the support side, lots of resources moving in across many, many fronts. And then finally, we are deploying Virginia resources into other areas in the Southeast. The EMAC request, which is the compact among states, is one that the states tried very hard to meet the requests. So we have search and rescue teams and comm teams, incident management teams that have been deployed into North Carolina. We are processing a request from South Carolina for the Virginia National Guard to support efforts there. Folks, this is going to continue to be an all-hands-on-deck moment. I am so proud of the work that has gone on in preparation of this storm, the heroic nature of life-saving efforts, the pace of getting help to people so that they can understand that they're not alone. It is the most heart-wrenching moment when someone has lost everything and they don't know where to turn. And so thank you to all these folks back here across the region. And then finally, our ability to now go help other states that are just desperately in need. Again, it's a moment for all of us to remember that when we move together, we can accomplish anything. This is going to be a long restoration, rebuild process, but I am confident that if we can just keep focused and not allow the standard, it's been 2 weeks now and we're moving on to the next issue to settle in, because I will not allow that to happen, that Southwest Virginia will rebuild stronger than it was before. So with that, I'm happy to I think we're going to take questions in the other room, and so these folks can get back to work and we stop interrupting them. But as you all relocate, I'm just going to spend a few minutes talking to these people. So thank you all very, very much.